Ministry started many, many years ago, and just in the last 3 years, we've been doing in Southern California with Chuck Norris. We've been doing some demonstrations and going out to the communities and being able to share not only about the martial arts, but also about Jesus Christ, and watching someone that doesn't come to church. They will come and hear and watch a demonstration and then the message at the end. So for me, it's a real blessing to be here in Las Vegas. And also because of the Somebody Loves You Crusade, we really are looking forward for God to do some tremendous things. But we'll get to that later on. Right now, we're going to have a Kung Fu demonstration. Let me give you a little history about that. My instructor was Jimmy H. To many of you, you might not know the name, but he was a very incredible person that I looked up to way back in 1960, well actually 1964. I was in high school working at a grocery store, and somebody told me that there was this old guy that taught Kung Fu. During the 60s, nobody knew what Kung Fu was until Bruce Lee came along, but they had a shopping center, and they had a little shop there where Jimmy used to teach. And so I went in and watched it one night, and I just really fell in love with it. I fell in love with the art, but I fell in love with this man. He really had a lot of charisma, and he was very good at what he did. So what happened is I signed up from 1964 through 1966, and then in 1966, I went to Vietnam, came back from Vietnam in 1968 with the United States Marine Corps, and I went right back to training with Jimmy until I got my black belt, and then got my first degree black, and second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and time added up, and I was with Jimmy close to 37 years, and then one day, when I came to the Lord, in the studio, Jimmy knew that something was up, because I was at every major demonstration. I was just, I used to worship Kung Fu. And when I got saved, my priorities began to change a little bit, but he saw a change, and his wife became a Christian. And so he had a real problem. My wife's a Christian now, Raul's a Christian now, and so we never witnessed to him, but just by our lives. So one day in I think it was about 7, 8 years ago, he called me and he said, hey, he called me Ralphie. He couldn't pronounce Raul, so he said Ralphie. So he called me, and I went to this McDonald's where we met there together. He was talking to me, I was talking to him, and he began to share with me, about some of the things that he was thinking. And I got to share the Lord with him, and right there, he received the Lord. 2 weeks later, he passed away in his sleep. And it was amazing that the Lord allowed me, after being with him for 38 years, not only to lead him to the Lord, but to do his funeral, to see hundreds of martial art people come, and to be able to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ to all these people. And so he became a great influence in my life. He did a lot for me, and I love that man, and I hope to see him in heaven one day. And one of the things that we've done over the years, I never left the martial arts. So at Calvary Chapel, Golden Springs, we have martial art classes. We leave them open for people that would like to learn from the outside or the inside of the church. So it's been a really great tool to go out to the community, to be able to share the art, but most important, Jesus Christ. He's the center of the camp. That's good. We're going to have, a lot of times when you watch the martial arts, they break guys, they break wood, they break all these concrete stuff, and people say, wow, man, these guys are really powerful. But one of the things about breaking wood, God created us in his own image, and we have bones and tendons and all these things, and most of the time when people in the martial arts do kind of thing like that, you wreck your hands. I have a couple of crooked fingers and stuff like that. But what happens is that God created us to worship him and to know who he is. And one of the things about the theatrics of the martial arts in China or Japan or Okinawa, wherever it is, they demonstrate, because I don't think that anybody, if there's a concrete building and I get any kind of a martial art guy to say, okay, we don't need hammers, but what, can you knock down the building, I don't think anybody can do that. We're not that kind of a person. And so people are always asking, what happens, when you see these guys break wood and break, concrete and all that? Well, it's all a demonstration. You mix sand with water, you can break it. You get wood, for example, you get oak, you can't break it. But you have pine wood, and anybody can break it, even a little child or a woman. So I'm going to ask, you want to come up here? come on up here. We're going to ask this little girl. All right.
Yeah.
Now look at, she's in shape, okay? And you see, she can take out anybody. I want you to close your fist, and you're going to hit with this part of the hand, okay? You're going to hit right in the middle of that board, and you're going to break it. Have you ever broken a board? Never! Okay, this will be a miracle. Okay, there we go. Ready? Go ahead all the way through. No, you got to hit hard. You got to make it real fast, okay, real hard. Ready? Go all the way through. Look at that! See how cool that is? Anybody can do that. And so what happens is a lot of mysticism in the martial arts. We do not teach, when I was in the world, I studied Buddhism, Zen, the whole thing. As a matter of fact, I used to sit in my bed and meditate, and my wife would look at me and also would hear me snoring and collapsing because I really didn't get nothing out of it. It was just something that I would do in the world. But one of the things that's really neat about the art is that the art has not only encouraged me, helped my self-confidence for so many years, and at the same time, it's something that we can give to the world. Something that we can show and demonstrate to people that don't know Christ. Because a lot of times people think the Christians are wimps, But we know that we have what? In the Bible, when you read the Bible, it talks a lot about warfare. It talks a lot about the armor of God in the book of Ephesians chapter 6 where he says we are to put on the whole armor of God. It talks about the sword of the Spirit. And so what it does, it brings and teaches discipline. It teaches you how to defend yourself, which means you don't have to really hurt anybody. You can walk away from a fight or you can run. Nothing wrong with running. You see? It doesn't make you a coward to run. You're just smart. Smarter than them. So it's really important that we understand that, a lot of times we have this image of the martial arts where you have to become a bully, you have to become a killer. That's not the truth. For example, I'm going to have, come here for a second. When somebody, especially for girls, a lot of times people think, well, what happens if somebody starts choking you? And you see movies and you see people that are really trying to hurt that person. If somebody grabs you by the throat and they're trying to choke you, people already panic. Well, all I have to do is just go like this to him. See? But instead of hitting him, my finger would go in his eye. That would really hurt. You see? Or he could come up just here and hold me and spit his face.
Yeah.
Or he come up and hold me here. I just pull here and then over here, just turn around, see, he can go around the board. I mean, it's just something that you learn. If he throws a punch and I block here, one, I kick you here, it's real easy. I don't want to hurt him. And then I hit him through the throat. Then I can step in with the elbow here and hit him in the throat, he can go down. So we practice step by step, and in real action, we will demonstrate in a moment how we work out. Now, if they really were able to let go in a fight situation, they would hurt each other, and I would have no students, and I would be a bad teacher. So we don't do that. If people talk about full contact and all that, that's great. I study Kendo also, the samurai swords. I've been doing it now for 3 years. It's a completely different art. We put on the mask, we put on the armor, and we really fight with swords, the bamboo swords, and then we do forms with the actual samurai sword. Here in Kung Fu Sansu, what we do is we master the art of hand-to-hand combat. Kung means working, Fu means man, Sansu means the hand-to-hand combat. It means that I can use my fist and my feet and my head or even my teeth to defend myself as quickly as I have to do it. But never ever bullying anybody. We're going to demonstrate for a couple minutes. We're going to show you a couple of forms. Mike's going to come out and do a hand form. This is my favela master. Thank you. Very good. So then we're going to have Artie. Artie's going to come out now. So you have an empty hand form. Now Artie's going to demonstrate with double swords. So Artie will come out and demonstrate with double swords. Master Artie. Decent. Thank you so much. Now we're going to have Pete with the staff. That's Pete. Thank you. What happens with the staff, I mean, a lot of times, people say, well, where's, can you imagine walking down the street with the staff? In China, they used to do that. In the country, the old country used to fight with weapons, sword, empty hand, whatever. But the staff has to throw, if he threw a punch, I can block him here, see? And then hit him here, and then to the head. If you know how to use that, or you can throw here, I block here, and then I can throw him. So you can use just as good as your hands as your feet. And usually when you strike with the stick, if he holds the stick and he's trying to push me this way, all I do is dip him here, see, to move him. So I use his strength against mine. If we hold muscle to muscle, he pushes me, I push him, then we couldn't do nothing about that. So what I do is I sneak up, see, to lift him up. And then here I can move whatever I want to do. If he tried to throw it and to push through my throat, all the way through, see, all I do is push this so I can push him back by using just my strength. It's technique. Because if I use muscle against muscle, it doesn't really work. And what happens in a real situation, if I have a staff, let's say it's a broom, see, and he's going to attack me, I can do with a broom right in his eyeballs. See, I can hit him this way and then hit him on the head. And then I can step in here this way, see, to let him go. And then I can hit him on the head if I want to. Right. Thank you. Now we're going to have Pete and Mike. They're going to do a little staff routine. Be careful because this is kind of sticky. Okay? I'll tell you a story about the staff later on. Good, thank you. Let me say that for a second. My brother and I, in 1970 something, I think it was, we were in East Los Angeles doing a movie, and we were going to do a stick routine. And just like they did, this is different kind of wood, this is kind of a flexible wood. But my brother and I were doing a stick routine, and I just happened to block him when we were doing the same kind of thing. And he went to block me this way, and when I hit the top of the wood, the stick broke and went into his eye. He lost his eye. And that's how my brother came to know Christ at that particular moment. God used that instance for that. So ever since then, I always like to share with people, when you work with weapons, you have to know how to use the weapons, because even those that are professional in weapons, knives, whatever it may be, there are accidents. And so those kids that are here today watching, we don't want you to go back home and start using your mom's broom and stuff like that, because you could get hurt. You have to know what you're doing here. This has been rehearsed. They've practiced already. Now this will come now to the hand-to-hand combat, what we call Kung Fu Sansu. Mike and Peter. Here!